take these opportunities? I mean, you've just told us about one, but in terms of, like, you tour Germany.
Well, that was another funny kind of happening too, because I'd been up at a music festival in Paihia, and I was waiting for the band to turn up to go cross over from Paihia to Russell the morning after a late gig, and the guys had all been drinking. And
how unusual.
Yeah, but because I don't drink, I was there on time at the ferry, and they didn't show up, so I thought, oh well, they can catch the next ferry. So I just got on the ferry, and there was just like the skipper, this young couple, and this one man on the, you know, an older man. So I just struck up a conversation. Said, "Oh, how are you liking the festival?" And he said, "Oh, I didn't know anything about a festival. I'm just here on holiday." So he was from Germany. He was staying at the hotel where I was doing the gig, and he came and had a listen. And afterwards, he said, "Wow, they love your music in Germany. Have you ever thought of going?" And I said, "Nope, I haven't thought about it. But if you can get me an in, I'll come over." So it took about a year to organise.
Yeah.
And my mother thought I was totally crazy doing it, because, you know, I didn't know where I was going or who this guy was. But I just went with my gut feeling that it was going to be okay. And it ended up being a really great 6-week tour. I was just there doing support for a couple of English guys, travelling around. We went through Bavaria and Hungary, all the way to Hungary, Switzerland, and it was fantastic. I'd never been to Germany before, and then once I got home, they contacted me and just said, "We loved what you did. We want to bring you back as a main artist."
Yeah, a headliner.
Yeah, so that's how it happened.
That's brilliant. It's fair to say that you've obviously created a lot of opportunities, but it's also probably fair to say that serendipity's played a
I think so too.
And I guess serendipity is being ready for those opportunities.
Yeah, and the thing is, because I find I end up getting myself into things sometimes, because someone will ask me if I want to do something, and I'll just say yes first, and then I'll go home and go, oh, now how am I going to make that happen? But I just find a way.
Find a way, that's brilliant. What Am I Gonna Do? That's an award-winning song. It won a country award last year, I think it was, and best country song as well. It's an album with it's also the title track. It's an album with a high compositional strike rate. What makes for a great Donna Dean song?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that.
How does the creative process work for you?
It doesn't. There's no kind of one way. I do find myself waking up very early in the mornings. Sometimes, you know, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I just, there's a song. It's like a song's just waiting to be put down on the page. I don't know exactly how it works, but and it's not because I've been thinking about something before I've gone to bed. It's almost like being woken up to get the pen and paper out, you know, and so it'll start usually with two or three lines.
I was going to ask that. Do you actually start with a title and then hang the DNA
no,
of the song off that?
Not necessarily a title, but it might be just a few words that seem to run together well, and then I'll get a kind of feeling whether it's really worth getting up out of bed for, because especially if it's cold, you know. But I will get up, and if I start writing, and if I write more than 3 lines, 4 lines, then I go and get the guitar, and then I start, because I'll start playing it. I can hear it in my head. I can kind of hear a melody.
Yeah.
And then once I get the guitar out.
So are you a notebook sort of person? Do you hear phrases every now and again and just note that down, or?
Yeah, I just make mental notes, but I can remember many years ago, probably maybe nearly 20 years ago, when I was working in a sewing factory. I was, you know, sitting with dozens of other people behind a sewing machine. And they were really strict on breaks. You weren't allowed to take your couldn't disappear, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to just go to the bathroom. I'd be doing this mindless work, just, you know, item after item, but the whole time I was writing songs. And I'd disappear into the toilet with pencil and write on the toilet paper and stick it in my pocket. And I go, oh, what's wrong? Have you got something wrong at the moment? You keep going to the bathroom. Yeah.
That's another song. You're actually a self-managed artist. You're also an artist who you release your own records. And I wondered, in many respects, you're actually a record company's dream, because I can imagine that you could actually record very, very quickly.
Yeah.
How does the process for putting an album together, a Donna Dean album, work for you? Do you do sort of like 2 to 3 songs and then come back to the studio, or do you just try and do it in one hit?
I think with this last, with this brand new album,
Mm-hmm.
we did all the rhythm tracks live, with, you know, just sitting around this like this in a room with everybody in a circle, and we went over and over one song until like maybe 3 or 4 takes.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it was a couple of takes.
That's not going over and over. That's really fast.
and once because I just didn't want to keep, you know, I wanted it to have a live sound, like be organic, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You've got a new album that's coming out very soon, and it's got a very intriguing title. Tell us the title of it.
The title's Tire Tracks and Broken Hearts, and that it's a line from the title song.
Right.
And it's a song, well, the theme is, it's kind of got a circus theme to it, but really it's just a song about just the cycles, life cycles. The first couple of lines are, born in a circus tent, mother held me to her breast, tried to keep me warm, fighting for a chance to survive circumstance, never letting go. And then it's, you know, it's an up-tempo kind of thing, and Albert Lee's going to be playing on that.
Wonderful. He's a very accomplished guitarist. That's another good break for you, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, I read this very articulate quote from Graham Reed, which said, Donna Dean has done it all: marriage, kids, divorce, rehab, bars and clubs. That degree of honesty isn't something a lot of songwriters care to reveal or can pull off. You seem to be quite open with.
Yeah, well, what's the point in hiding it? If you, I'm not ashamed of any of it. You know, there's a lot of divorce in the world. There's also, you know, New Zealand's got really pretty tragic statistics for drug use and alcohol abuse and all that kind of thing. So I just figure if someone listening to a song hears something that, you know, maybe triggers some change, then it's got to be a good thing. I mean, I'm happy to share it.
Do you regard the creative process of writing as a means of sort of like working through life's challenges?
Definitely, and especially in the early stages of my writing, many years ago, after I had come out of rehab, because I'd felt very deprived, because I was in a relationship that didn't allow for anything creative to happen, and I was felt very stifled.
I can imagine.
And so because I went from being a very young teenager into this relationship when I kind of really just started to write, and then it was just put away. I was not encouraged at all to do it. In fact, I was told that I didn't have any talent, and I should just forget all about it, because I was just, you know, nobody would want to hear anything that I'd write or sing. So once I came out of that relationship, 12 years later, it was like bursting open.
You had a lot of songs.
All this stuff that, and so a lot of it right in the beginning was it was stuff only for me to hear, you know, it was just stuff that I needed to get out.
Yeah.
But along with that came I mean, Destination Life was one of those first songs, and I never ever would have thought that someone else would want to. I didn't think of it as that. Oh, I'll write this song and someone else might pick it up. It was a real story.
Yeah. You strike me as being a person you're obviously highly motivated, but you also seem very well grounded, and of course you've got children, so I guess that is part of it. What other qualities does it take to sustain a career as a self-managed and
I guess you really just have to believe that what you're doing has some value, and that eventually, if I didn't believe in what I'm doing, if I didn't believe there was something that I had something to share, then, and something worthwhile sharing, it would have just been a hobby, and because there, as you say, being self-managed, there's it's allowed me, in some ways there's advantages and disadvantages, because in some ways I've been able to pick up and just do any gigs that I want to, and on the other hand, I've probably missed some opportunities because I haven't had representation. So I've just I've stuck to what I do. I haven't tried to morph into something else. I've just stuck to what I do and what I love to do. So even though not from a financial point, it hasn't maybe been hugely successful, but I'm doing every day what I love to do, and not a lot of people can get up in the morning and say, wow, I'm so happy about going to my job today.
So it's very much a motivation in your own belief.
Yeah.
You've assembled quite a wonderful little band here. Perhaps you'd like to introduce the other players.
Well, I've got with me Glenn Campbell and Greg Turner.
And Greg,
very, very lucky. Glenn and I started playing together a couple of years ago, at least, as a trio, and we did a whole lot of gigs around Auckland. We spent quite a bit of time at a little cafe on Ponsonby Road, 121, and we did some other gigs around the place. But maybe they might want to say something themselves.
It's a portable little unit.
Yeah.
It works really well. This last song is called Twister. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, Twister. I read a book by Celia Lashley. She's a New Zealand author, and it's she's written several books, but this one in particular is called The Journey to Prison. And I was really struck by what she's worked in the prison system for a long time, and she talked about that she could go into any classroom in New Zealand and pick out the 5-year-olds who would end up in jail.
Frightening thought. Really
frightening. And when you mentioned earlier about being open about my life, and divorces, and broken families and step families and all that kind of thing. It's pretty common today, not just in New Zealand but around the world. Kids don't always have a mum and dad that stay together always. And so the song was kind of, it's from a child's perspective, and it's a child whose mother's gone because of a jealous, insecure lover, and that's where the song came from.
Brilliant, thank you. That's us. It's very cool.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, and thank you very much, Donna.
I
It's
didn't
really,
get a
really
chance
cool.
to express my political. We saw you waving the flag, mate. It's good for radio.
But this is radio, not television.
Oh, Glenn.
Glenn standing with his placard.
Now, this is probably going to go to air Saturday week. Right, I've got a couple of other things that sort of got it in before this,
Okay.
but I think that's going to, because the album's out when?
Yeah, it'll be nearer to that time.
Perfect.
It'll be perfect.
Perfect,
So
yeah.
thanks for that.
Is it through it again?
Yes, well, I haven't actually talked to Roger yet, but yeah.
Cool.
Thanks,
That's great.
Thanks.